this?
I don't know where we're going right now, but I think we're doing award tour. So we're at the just past the quarter mark of the NHL season, right? So if we were to hand out some hardware right now, who would get those honors? I'll start with you for this one. We're going the Hart Trophy. Who's your MVP to this point?
This, you know, there's a little background, a little analysis with all my picks here. This one, least of all that.
This is easy?
It's McDavid.
Yeah?
It's just McDavid. I mean, I don't know of a narrative, assuming he has the kind of season he's having to this point and has had in the past, that's just my MVP. He does things that are otherworldly. He never ceases to, you know, moves like that astonish us. He does things at such an elite level in such a unique way. We've just never seen the likes of a player like this. Therefore, I am McDavid Hart.
Okay.
You're going somewhere else, aren't you? You're flipping through the numbers here.
Stu,
That doesn't make your pick wrong.
You're tougher than me.
That doesn't make your pick wrong.
We'll
show its flaws in just a second.
You're an attorney, so you're smarter than me, but you're dead wrong on this one. I mean, it's Alex Ovechkin. Alex Ovechkin's the Hart. I mean, you've got the storylines, the age, what he's doing. He's 2 points off Connor, and this has been without a lot of the weapons for the Washington Capitals. I think that Ovi right now is running away with it. Come talk to me a little bit later on, because these storylines change every day in the NHL from week to week. But if you can keep anything remotely close to this guy, it's his to lose.
All right, here's the comparison right here. You can see just two.
I love you, Stu.
He is.
I love you, but you're wrong.
I love you,
but more goals.
Ovi is having a really unique season, without question. I think that deserves the attention it gets, not the attention you're giving it. Because at the end of the day, as remarkable as the season is that Ovi is having, especially at the senior stage of his life, he ain't Connor McDavid.
No.
He ain't Connor McDavid.
But I feel like Connor McDavid it's just like, all right, Hart, Connor, let's think of somebody else, right?
Yeah.
At this point, but that doesn't mean that Connor doesn't deserve it.
Which is why I respect the man to my left so much.
Yes.
He leaves me the low-hanging fruit, the obvious choice.
And the fruit ninja over
works
here.
Really hard. He works really hard to make a case for somebody else not terribly deserving of it. And that's why I love him.
All right.
And that's why it's just good for the show.
We'll see where the love is on this one. How about on the blue line? Who's your Norris right now at this point?
My Norris is Cale Makar. How do you feel about Cale Makar? And the reason
We'll find out in a second. I want to know what your thoughts.
The reason I'm strong on Cale Makar, now he's banged up this year. He probably misses 7 or so games on the rest of the field. But he's one of just 2, I believe, defenders that are clipping along at a point per game or better pace.
He's over a point.
And he's got, let me get my totals, 13 of which are goals. No other defender is in double digits. In fact, I think the closest defender, just in terms of goals scored, is something like 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Can't recall who that is. I put a premium on goals, and even when we're talking about a forward, and I put a premium on goals ×2 with respect to a defender, Cale Makar is dynamic.
On pace for over 40 goals. The last defenseman to do that in NHL history, Paul Coffey and Bobby Orr. So
points per game pace, it's kind of decidedly Cale Makar. But I continue to be a really big fan. He checks all my boxes.
Where are you going,
Rupp? You can't go wrong with that. I mean, Cale Makar is unbelievable. I would say he's probably the front runner, but the guy I think that does just a little bit more is Victor Hedman. Yeah. And I love, we've talked about it, and I just don't like the narrative that we're going to see with this team because for these individual awards because everyone's going to say, well, they're back-to-back Stanley Cup champs. I mean, this is a theme in some of these picks for me is give these guys some love what they're doing.
That's why they're back-to-back champs.
That's exactly. So don't use that as a deterrent to giving these guys the awards. I can't really argue with Cale Makar. Those numbers speak for themselves. What he does is unbelievable. But, I mean, 31 points here for Victor Hedman. He's got to defend. He's got to lead this team defending every night, and he does that. Plus 13. Either of these guys, it's a pick 'em for me.
If you put more emphasis on the defensive side of the game, which you may be doing, that's where I probably end up on the Hedman camp. I think he's probably a better purely as a defender. He's probably stronger.
Do the voters look at that though?
I don't think they do.
Eventually, we talk about this. We talk about this every year, and I would love to see at some point, like in the NFL, you have offensive MVP and defensive MVP. I'd love to have a defensive defenseman award.
Who would you give that to right now? Who is your best defensive defenseman?
It's Victor Hedman.
Okay,
Victor Hedman.
All right.
And, and what is he the leading? Is he the leading point getter too. So I mean, either one of these guys is I mean,
he's sweeping the Norris-East.
Yes,
for
right.
Mike Rupp. All right, Stu doesn't like that.
No,
let's see where you're going. How about the Vezina goalie? This could be this. There's a few in the mix here. No chalk.
There are, and I like having a fresh face to talk about. That's why I ended up going with Campbell. I think Campbell's having a phenomenal year in Toronto. I think in part Toronto is an improved defensive team. I think this group is playing more responsibly. Their numbers kind of bear it out. But this is the first year that Jack Campbell has really taking the mantle right from the outset. I'm the number one, and he hasn't missed a beat. He's just been really, really exceptional, really consistent throughout, and 15-5-2. His save percentage, probably playing for an inferior team to Tampa Bay, his save percentage is like .10 better than Vasilevsky on the other side. I think he's been really solid.
Did you see this coming from Jack Campbell with this much workload, this much responsibility on his shoulders?
I really did not. Yeah. I really did not. I expected to see a lot of the same familiar faces. In fact, my dark horse, my bold prediction to start the year, I had Connor Hellebuck, emerging from the field and having a really strong Vezina-like season.
Yeah. He is.
He could.
Not quite
still. He could
right
still. We got a lot of hockey left to play, but to this point, Campbell's been my guy. I think he's earned. He's deserving of top 3 Vezina attention at this moment.
Oh, 100%. He's been the story out of Toronto. I went with Igor Shesterkin. I just think that when you look at the talk of this Rangers team this year, I mean, you're talking about this Rangers squad who's got 42 points, and you got the leader in Tampa Bay with 44. So they're right off of them. They played the same amount of games. I just don't think this Rangers team has such a bright future. And I said it before, I'll say it again. This team, I think, wins a cup in the next 3 years. But they haven't really played great. They're not a good 5-on-5 team. Their 5-on-5 numbers aren't great. If it wasn't for Igor Shesterkin, I don't think this team would be where they're at right now. Is it buying them time to get fully going? Maybe. Maybe the second half of the season or after Christmas we'll start seeing a different Rangers squad. But there were some days early on in the season where that team looked terrible and Igor Shesterkin held them together.
I don't know much about much, but I know this. The shaded areas that are yellow, this is the way graphics representation of that's my guy beating your guy. Areas. And there's like 3 boxes.
Do we have some goal 4? Let's get some goals 4.
3 of the 4 boxes represented.
This is going to end up in a Donnybrook.
Okay.
I love this.
The only other remaining category, it's a wash.
937. That's not shabby either.
Though that's really good, but I guess I'll let the graphics
let them speak for themselves.
The graphics speaks for itself.
Here's a horn. You can just toot yourself right now. Let's go. Selke right now. Are you going with the chalk on this one?
You know what? I'm going back to a tried, a tested, and a true because he's having that kind of campaign.
Yeah.
Patrice Bergeron. It has been, certainly we've seen him put up better totals offensively, perhaps. We've seen the Bruins be better in past seasons, perhaps. But these two things really jumped off the page at me, and I was glad we're kind of going through this exercise because I had failed to appreciate just how strong Bergeron had been this year. 63% face-off win percentage. That's astonishing. That's astonishing in a small sample size. We're talking now, 2/3 of a season-ish, and he's there. And here's another nugget that really jumped off the page at me. Boston has 1.34 goals against per 60 minutes played when Bergeron is on the ice. That, to me, is pretty remarkable. In the context of a full 60 minutes, 1.34 goals against when he's on the ice, pretty remarkable. So I think he's 4 years-ish since he last won it.
He's got a few of them, though, on the mantle.
He's had a stronghold on it for most of the 2000s.
He's been a finalist for the last 10 years or something ridiculous. So
no Selke discussion starts without Bergeron
in the
it.
mix.
But,
Bergeron,
so that's where I'm going.
Does Bergeron fit your mold here for Selke right now?
I mean, the award should be named after him at this point. So
by the time he retires, it may be.
He does fit that, and he's probably a finalist in my book. But I got Nazem Kadri. I want to see some new blood.
I like that. That's a great pick.
Nazem Kadri and what he's had to do out there in Colorado. We know about his offensive output, but he is one of those guys. And I'll date this back, and I heard through the grapevine back when Lou Lamoriello was involved in Toronto there, when they had that kind of moment of truth. Where are we going with this organization? I heard there was one untouchable, and that was Nazem Kadri. Why? Because he was a gamer. He played every game, played a certain way. He was hard to play against. We know how important that is in this league. That, to me, is a Selke-type player. And Bergeron's hard to play against.
Yeah.
You know, in a different way.
Really?
But Naz Kadri, I mean, look at the numbers which we have known. I mean, and I'm not... Sue, that is kind of a lot of yellow in my favor there.
I really wish. I was
we're
thinking to
gonna go
myself,
off that.
I really wished I had some
down to the highlight
I mean,
sections.
I knew
4
that
out
would
of
come back
6.
to bite me.
4 out of 6 isn't bad.
I knew that
It's
would
not bad. So, Naz Kadri's the guy. I want to see some new blood there. Patrice Bergeron, I love you. You're a finalist, but I want to see Naz Kadri get this one.
I like that. All right, 2 very willing combatants right there. How about the Rookie of the Year, the Calder? Who's your front runner at this point?
I think it's hard to go with anybody other than young Lucas Raymond in the Detroit organization. I tell you, if I hadn't gone with him, I'd have probably looked elsewhere in the Detroit organization, gone with Mo Seider.
Yeah.
Gone with Mo Seider. But Lucas Raymond is, you know, he's got his fingerprints all over the way these Detroit Red Wings look this year. They are vying for a playoff position when I don't think a lot of folks had projected that they would be. I think they are now ahead of kind of... you know, this path to credibility, just ahead of most people's projections at this time. And it has to do in large part with Lucas Raymond and the way he's played to this point. And the thing that I really like about this young skater as well is, you know, of all the guys that you would look to that might kind of vie for this, like Zegras, like Seider, Lucas Raymond hasn't spent a single shift on North American ice before the year starts, and it transfers just great.
Yeah.
2 years in the Swedish Elite League, and it transfers all over without missing a beat. Yeah. I really like that about Raymond.
Right in the fire.
He's an impactful player.
Certainly has been. All right, who are you going with?
Those 2 Red Wing players are certainly in the final mix, right? The top 3. The other guy that I would throw in there that I love is Trevor Zegras.
Yep.
And what he's brought a lot of buzz. But also the one thing that I want to pay attention to is this Anaheim team, can they sustain the way they've been playing? I think there needs to be credit given when you're voting on these things, especially with a rookie, for a team that's in the playoffs, and a team that is figuring to be in the playoffs and fighting for a division lead that like Anaheim is. Because I don't want it, I'm not discrediting what's happening in Detroit.
Oh.
But someone needs to get ice time on bad, not great teams, okay? Anaheim's a really good team. So he's got to, you know, if he may not get the ice time if he's not performing, but he is performing. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit different. I think it should be graded on a little bit of different scale, but that's all yellow in your favor there.
That is what we call a clean sweep.
That is a clean sweep, but what Trevor Zegras has brought, and I wonder how much goes into the voting as far as hype. Right? Like, Trevor Zegras has brought a lot of hype as well. So, like, how much do you think that... So is Lucas Raymond. But, you know, you're talking about some of the buzz, the flashiness. I don't know.
It's got to factor in, right?
Yeah, you'd think, right?
I subscribe to this philosophy. When the graphic says it all, just let the graphics speak. Just let the graphics speak.
All right, what is the graphic?
Ran the table in the prior category, if I recall.
What does the graphic say about your Jack Adams winner right now, to this point in the season?
Well, I'm going with my old mentor / tormentor, Daryl Sutter. Had him for 3 years in Chicago. And honestly, like the last 3 times, perhaps, Daryl got hired, I'm saying to myself, gosh, I thought the game had passed him by. He has done a phenomenal job with these Calgary Flames. Yes, there's lots of swagger back up front. These guys score with good regularity. But, Michael, the way these guys defend, the year that Markstrom is having, they are at 62 goals against total. And, I mean, nobody in the league is really close to there. So I love how they've kind of built it. Daryl's done a fabulous job of getting everybody to buy in. I love the way he's gone about it. This was a tough category to pick. There are other people. John Hines in Nashville, I think, is a strong contender for this as well. But I went with Daryl for old home's sake.
I think we see who Rupper's going with there.
Yeah,
right? We just saw a bunch of shots of Coop there.
I actually found that this wasn't very hard to pick at all. I went with John Cooper, because John Cooper, you're sitting there, and that's my point I want to make about the Tampa Bay Lightning. Don't discredit these guys, because the team is good, and he's got talent. Yeah. I mean, they've just won 2 Stanley Cups in a row, and they're in first place in all of the league right now with 2 of the top forwards in the NHL out of their lineup. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
and the entire third line from last year's Cup winning team.
Exactly. John Cooper is hands down the best coach in all of hockey and has been probably for the past 5-6 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this guy, the way
NFL right
he can just keep getting the message through and getting these guys to play inspired hockey, it's incredible. Yeah. It really is.
We're going to need to see the side-by-side comparison to determine who wins this one, because I haven't seen that yet. Who has the most yellow and highlights?
I've been keeping a loose tally.
Yeah, I'm sure you have.
I think there's a solid four yellow box edge.
Gotcha. Well, the official winners just came in. You want to see the real ones? Here we go. Throw these up. These are my picks. I'm kind of on board with you guys.
Okay.
So, Ovi, I'm with you for the heart.
We got a little blend here.
Yeah, both sides. And
I like you both went for Kadri.
Yeah, I like Makar. I like the goals and stuff like that over a point per game. How about Tristan Jarry? Nobody had Jarry.
Yeah.
And with what he's done with the people playing in front of him this year in Pittsburgh to have them in a playoff spot, and that's also why I chose Mike Sullivan for the Jack Adams here.
He's of the same ilk. Do not discredit a coach for what he has not gotten the love the last number of years.
Exactly.
What Mike Sullivan's dealt with there and keep this team, I mean, it's incredible
Crosby,
what they're doing
Malkin,
right now.
Gensel, Letang at times, gone. And all they do is win. They're in a playoff spot right now. So, yeah, don't fault a guy for being good and keeping that thing right on the tracks, much like this show probably isn't going to be.